Welcome to the African Descendants Forum, a platform dedicated to celebrating and amplifying the voices of individuals from the African diaspora, both home and abroad. Today, we have the honour of hosting Amanda Pinnock, a remarkable individual whose life is a beautiful mosaic of roles and accomplishments. Amanda is not only a devoted mother, wife, daughter, sister and friend, but she is also a passionate lover of music and an active member of the Labour Party, serving as a councillor for the Ashbrow Ward in Huddersfield since 2015. With an impressive educational background, Amanda has earned degrees from both the University of Huddersfield and the University of Coventry. Her expertise lies in civil litigation and legal representation, as she has been an in-house solicitor since 2010. Amanda's journey has been deeply rooted in her community, and her dedication to public service is evident through her political and activist endeavours. Throughout her career, Amanda has fiercely navigated the world of politics, advocating for the rights and well-being of her constituents and beyond. As the only black African descendant politician among the 69 members in Kirklees, Amanda brings a unique perspective and invaluable insights to the table, and is currently the lead councillor for Kirklees licensing. In addition to her political engagement, Amanda's commitments to her community extends to her active involvement in the church. In her early days, she not only attended church, but also showcased her musical talents by singing solo, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those who witnessed her performances. Today, we have the privilege of delving into Amanda's philosophies and opinions and experiences as she shares her remarkable journey of navigating politics, community activism, and the challenges and triumphs of being a trailblazing African descent politician. Join us as we engage in a thought-provoking conversation that seeks to shed light on Amanda's inspiring story and the impact she continues to make in the world around her, and especially in Kirklees. Welcome, Amanda, and thank you for joining us. I guess we need to get straight into this. How did your time in the church shape your love of music and community activism?
So, from a very young age, I think my parents would describe me as being very quiet, very introvert as a young person. When I became a teenager, I think I wanted to develop my personality, and I wasn't quite sure how to go about that. But I always had deep roots within the church. My paternal side of the family are Catholic, so I went to a Catholic church. But my maternal side are Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh, wow.
So when I got to around 12 or 13, I was already at a Catholic school. I wanted to explore my maternal side and to see what that was like. So I started attending the Seventh-day Adventist church in Crossland Moor, and my personality developed from there. I went from this shy, introvert person to becoming a lot more outgoing, a lot more confident. And I think the church really supported that. And I discovered my love of music, particularly in the church. And I felt I was able to express the love of music and finding like-minded people within the church, and also long-term friendships within the church.
So what type of music did you sing? Was it gospel or was it R&B, hip-hop? Mind you, hip-hop would probably 50 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Too young to be singing hip-hop.
So it was kind of a fusion. So there were religious songs, there were gospel songs, but at the time, myself and my friends decided to put an R&B twist on things. Experimenting with music, experimenting with sounds, and that's what we did. We sort of made it a little bit more modern, a bit more fresh, something that we could relate to, something we could put our stamp on.
Excellent. What inspired you to become a politician, and what do you hope to achieve as a politician? Did you go into it with an end goal, or did you just say, let me just try this and see where I go with it?
I think I sort of fell into the role. So I'm a qualified solicitor. I've been a solicitor now for over 20 years. And one of the main reasons why I got into law was because I always had an interest in access to justice and recognising people's rights, people's human rights. And on top of that, not seeing people or not seeing anyone who looked like me necessarily working in that area, representing people and recognising people's rights, ensuring that people who don't have the right knowledge or representation, don't necessarily have the funds or the finance to have representation, and also to represent people who look like me. That was really the aim behind it, so that they could have right to a fair trial. So that's how it started for me. And politics is very similar. It was a natural progression, I would say, from law to politics. There is a parallel, there is a similarity between the two. In politics, again, you're representing people, you're representing groups, you're representing communities, you're representing businesses, you're representing an area. So really, it's an extension of the law that I'm used to. It's just a different type of representation. It's just done in a slightly different way. But the foundations were there for me. And again, it's about allowing people to have their voice heard. It's about representing people's voices. It's about managing expectations.
Many people would say that the system's rigged against people of African descent, poor minority people. So you taking on the role as a politician, a community activist, how has your role as a politician impacted on your life as a community activist and a community member? Because you do live in the constituent of where you are a councillor.
So I do live in the Ashbrow area, which means I have first-hand understanding and knowledge of the area.
Quickly then, is that a good thing to live in the area, or some would argue living outside the area, when you come in you've got a fresh eyes?
It's a positive thing living in the area because you have an understanding of the area. You understand the plight of residents who live in the area. And at the same time, you have a sense of ownership of the area because you live in the area. And I think what you'd find in Kirklees is a lot of areas are very similar. There are certain distinctions that are slightly dissimilar, but they're all very much similar to each other. You have pockets of deprivation everywhere. You have pockets of affluence everywhere, just like in my ward. There's affluence, there's poverty. But it's also, as I said, that level of understanding of parents, residents, businesses, stakeholders, and knowing how all these things can fit together as a jigsaw piece to benefit the community.
Well, how do you navigate that, and how do you balance that up? Is it, you was very positive about being a politician, you were very positive about representation. Does it ever get where you are challenged as a community member through the eyes of a community person as a politician?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I've done very well really to navigate, and I think it's a lot to do with my personality, which I think has come through me being a solicitor, me working in the area that I work in. I think I'm able to understand people's difficulties, people's plights, and be able to understand them, address them, and manage them. And I think that's really helped me. So in terms of the community, when there's issues within the community and they feel that they're not listened to, or there's something that the community needs or wants, I think I'm able to understand that and convey it in a way that may get the community what they want, may get the solution that they're looking for.
And I really welcome that. But when you go down to, let's say, the town hall and you have these committee meetings and everything, can you actually influence as one lone, well, sorry, there's three of you there, but as a councillor, do you actually influence anything down there, or is it a case of wait and see? Do you lobby? What's the process?
So I'm in quite a privileged position in that the Labour Party are the administration within the council, which means the Labour Party are the ones that make the decision for Kirklees. And it also means that I have a very close relationship with the administration, with the leaders of the council who make those decisions. And when we attend meetings as councillors, as representatives, we have the opportunity to speak up on behalf of our community. That's why it's important to listen to voices. It's important to spend the time with community members, with businesses, with organisations, to get a better understanding of what the issues may be, what's positive, what's negative, what's needed. So I can think of a number of examples.
Yeah, that'd be great to hear.
I think in terms of the black community, I think the latest project that I was involved in was the Iroko project. And I think what was great about the Iroko was it came out on the back of the Black Lives Matter. And it was a time when everybody was more awake and alive to institutional racism within the community, and where the deficits were in the black community, where there were issues about disproportionality. Once upon a time, people weren't willing to necessarily listen to those things, but it opened up that conversation, that bigger, wider conversation. And on the back of that, I worked with the council to create this Iroko project. And the Iroko project was an opportunity for the voice of the black community to be heard in a way that has never taken place before. So meetings were designed for people from the community to talk about what changes they wanted to see, what difference they wanted to make. And sometimes it was an opportunity for people to tell their stories. It wasn't necessarily that they wanted a particular thing or there was a particular issue. They want to talk about things that happened to them personally in their own lives, in their employments, in their families and those sorts of things. But on the back of that, what we saw is, things like the carnival come back again. We saw opportunities for community groups to get the resource, not just finance, but the resource and support that they needed to make a difference in the black community. So, looking at it in summary, it was an opportunity to see what the community wanted, to see what the priorities were within the community. And it was multifaceted. It wasn't just about the community and what the community needed, which was important, but it was also about the workings within the council. What changes could be made within the council to ensure there is equality, diversity and inclusivity in decisions that are made in terms of policy and decision making.
But diversity, inclusion, it's been around and been challenged for years and years and years. Can it be sustained? Yeah. The Iroko projects come. I don't know if it's still around. We're not quite sure of the legacy of that. So what's happened, and is it just piecemeal? George Floyd sadly lost his life. Suddenly the whole world's woken up. So suddenly there's a reaction by public services. Lots of projects emerged and evolved. The Iroko project was one of them. It seems to have disappeared now. Can the commitment to diversity, inclusion and equality be sustained? Or do we always need an incident, to spark, non-minority interest? And then they throw money at it, they show willing, and then as soon as everything dies down, it all goes back underground and the way it was. And I think that's when I think that you being an African descendant politician is challenged. And how do you manage those expectations between you being an activist, you committed to equality, diversity and inclusion, and then expected by your constituents to do something about it and sustain it, never mind just do something about it?
Yeah. So my role as a councillor, as I've said, is about going down to the town hall, is about being in those spaces, having those discussions, being involved in decision making, shaping policy and so on. But it's also about galvanizing the community. It's about encouraging the community to do things. Often we spend a lot of time talking about problems, talking about issues, and then nothing seems to come of it because we don't do anything about it. One of my roles is to work with communities, work with community groups, and I do a lot of that. I furnish them with information that they may need to help them to get on, whether it's funding or information about what's on the horizon, what might happen, but also encourage them to approach the powers that be, approach the decision makers, make them understand what the issues are, but also invite them to their meetings and get them to understand, how things work. So my role isn't necessarily to protest or lobby or what have you. My role also is to facilitate other people to do that, to encourage them to do that. And by encouraging people to do things for themselves, that can only be a positive thing.
Yeah, and I love that, and I think it's absolutely a positive way to go. But there's a lot of people who are in fear, no confidence, lack confidence, been beaten down by the system. Surely there's a lot more to be done than just encouraging. How do you and your colleagues in the Ashbrow Ward do that little bit more than just encourage?
So it's about creating those platforms, isn't it? Giving people the space, the comfortable space to have those conversations, to have their own narrative of what they want to see. And that's something we do a lot, but also not everybody's confident to do that in a room full of people. Not everybody's confident to, or has the ability to get a group of people together and create a community group, for example. So sometimes it can be on a one-to-one. If people have things they want to say or they have issues, I'm contacted all the time on social media.
Okay. Yeah.
People contact me about things that are going on with them, but also about their thoughts and their feelings and what their concerns are. And that helps me then, when I'm in the room with certain people, to have those conversations and let them know this isn't necessarily my opinion. This is what the community think. This is what other people think. And you have to listen to that. I'm also a board member on Local Services to You, which is a socialist business, social enterprise business in the Ashbrow area that runs a number of projects, and they operate outside the Chestnut Centre. And Local Services to You work very, very closely with the community. They are instrumental in the Deaton Carnival. They're instrumental in a lot of things that happen at Northfield Hall, but also things that happen in the community. And services rely very much on the knowledge and experience that Local Services to You have. So the police, the council, businesses, education, housing. So many people go to, or so many organisations or services go to Local Services to You because they know they have the experience and the reach to make a difference, to help formulate the services they need to create or the policies that they need to create to make that positive change in the community.
Thank you for that. And I was aware. I do see you doing a lot, but I didn't realize it stretched so wide and far. And people, you don't know. People are emailing you on the night, texting you on the night, asking you things. So that's great to know. I just want to touch on you as the only woman of African descent in the council chambers among 69 members. How does that impact on you? Do you embrace that? Is it something you feel requires prep before you go in, or you've just got used to it now?
Come back to being a solicitor, a housing solicitor.
Yeah.
And as I said, one of the main reasons why I was attracted to law and why I got involved in law is I didn't necessarily see many people who looked like me. And actually, when I did qualify and I went to court, I didn't see anybody who looked like me in certain courtrooms and certain situations. And it was difficult, but at the same time, I felt as though I was making a statement. We can be here. We can do well. We can make a difference. People's lives can change by having variety and representation. And it's very similar for me in the council chamber. Actually, there are 69 councillors and I'm the only black councillor. There's never been a female or a male black councillor. And I've been a councillor for over 8 years now. So, You know, when I'm sat in that room, there is only me. But it also, rather than dwelling on that, I see it as an opportunity. And it's an opportunity for me to stand and speak about communities, including the Black community. I talk about all communities. I know we're talking today about African descent and our community and difficulties within our community, but actually as a counsellor, I have to support all communities. But in terms of the Black community, it's my opportunity to talk about the Black community based on the experience that I have, which no one else in the room has. Yeah. They can sympathise and empathise, but they don't have the experience that I have. So I'm able to do that. And I think as a solicitor, you know, I like to think I can speak very well. I'm able to do that in the court, in the chamber, and also command attention and let people listen, you know, to what the issues are or what should be considered as part of the Black community.
Okay. Truly inspiring, Amanda. I mean, what would you say to anyone who's a minority, particularly African descent, who wants to get into politics?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, I would say to them, get involved. It's simple. You know, when people think about politics, they think about Westminster. They think about...
Sorry, I interrupted there, but you're saying get involved, but there's a perception. It's one of the dirtiest professions in the business. We watch telly, we see a death by 1,000 cuts of every politician who ever raises their head above the pulpit, or the parapet, sorry. So get involved. Really, you think people could just go and join because they tell them to get involved?
Well, what I was going to say is often there's a misconception of politicians. Politicians at the end of the day are individuals, and they conduct themselves in, you know, whatever way they see fit as a politician. But you can decide what sort of politician you want to be. You can be a local champion as a politician. You could be the type of individual who just wants to make a difference in their community. And that could be the catalyst for taking it to the next level. And that's how it worked for me. I got involved in a community project with a number of community leaders, and I spent that time just watching, learning from their experience, from the longevity that they had working in that area, and just soaking it all up. But actually for me, it was about the community wanting to make a difference in my community and understanding what the issues were. And I developed from there. Politics is often about an issue that needs to be resolved or expressed or, you know, forwarded. And anybody can do that. It could be the smallest thing. It could be from a pothole in the road to, you know, you want to support education in the local community, or you want to champion opportunities for young people to go on to further education or apprenticeships or employments. You want to see a difference that is going to benefit the community. That really, to me, is politics in a nutshell. But you decide to what level you want to take it to. I think because I've got the legal background, I'm always striving and challenging myself to do more. But you don't have to do that. Not everybody's like me.
On reflection, we're just summing up now. How would you sum up your journey from the church to where you are today as a politician, the only person of African descent among 69 members? Do you feel you've fulfilled some of the things you set out to fulfill? How would you sum it all up?
I'd say my journey's been really exciting. I think exciting is the word that I would use, you know, in inverted commas. I think it's been interesting, it's been challenging, it's been diverse. You know, the opportunities have been there, because I think a lot of the time as a black woman, as a person from African descent, we think there's a lack of opportunity. But actually, I think I can say with conviction, I don't think any of those things have stopped me from getting to where I want to get to. It has been, of course, it's been challenging. It may even have been a little bit difficult because of my background, but the opportunities have been there. And I've grasped those opportunities with both hands. I think if you want it and you work hard enough for it, you can have it. But I'd say my journey has been interesting. Like I said, I've met so many people along the way. I've learned so much. And I don't think I would have the knowledge and experience that I've gained if I hadn't put myself out there. And it's the hardest thing to do, to put yourself out there for public consumption and for public criticism.
Absolutely. Very brave, very brave. If there's one thing you could improve, and don't say salary, yeah, there's one thing you could improve about your journey as a politician, what would it be?
I want to see more people who look like me. I want to see black men in particular. I think the opportunities are there, the platform is there. If somebody wanted to put themselves forward, I would support them wholeheartedly. One of the things I do when I'm out there and I'm speaking publicly, I am constantly asking people to come forward. Come and represent your community. And there's a lot of people who want to do that. They just don't know how to do it, or they don't think they've got the confidence to do it.
Councillor Amanda Pinnock, community activist, I just think you're an inspiration to a lot of young people, even my generation, who understand how hard it was back in the 60s, 70s and 80s, and some people even now would say nothing hasn't changed. And here you are representing. I think you're an inspiration, and a lot more people, I hope will get behind you, support you, and thank you so much for giving up your time. And I know you've had a busy day to come and share your backstory with us. Thank you so much, Amanda. God bless you in your endeavours.
Thank you.
I'd like to say a big thank you to Amanda and also our audience for watching the African Descent Forum. See you all soon for another Trailblazer. Bye-bye now.